They call it the eighth wonder of the world. Something so simple that most people ignore it, and yet so powerful it has built empires, erased debt, and turned ordinary workers into legends of wealth. Compounding. It doesn't arrive with fireworks. It doesn't knock on your door. It works in silence, moving slowly at first, so slowly that you may not notice it. But give it enough time, and it becomes unstoppable. Imagine dropping a single penny into a jar. It feels like nothing, a joke, a coin so light you could flick it across a table. But now imagine doubling that penny every day. 1 cent becomes 2, 2 become 4, 4 become 8. By the end of the first week, you're staring at 64 cents. Barely enough for a cup of coffee, if that. But keep going. A month in, the jar holds over $5 million. One tiny coin, multiplied by time and patience, grows into a fortune that no ordinary paycheck could match. That's the power hidden in plain sight. Not magic, not luck, but the quiet law of growth that rewards those who wait. Most people never experience it. They quit too early, they touch the money too soon, or they fail to believe in something they cannot yet see. But those who do, they discover a secret that changes everything. Picture a young teacher in the 1970s. Her paycheck is modest, barely enough to cover rent, groceries, and the occasional night out. She doesn't dream of riches, only of security. But every month, without fail, she sets aside a small portion of her salary into a retirement fund. At first, it feels pointless. The balance creeps up like a snail. A few $100s, then a few thousand. Meanwhile, her friends buy new cars, bigger TVs, nicer vacations. She feels foolish, even deprived. But the years pass. The balance grows. Not because she suddenly earns more, but because her money is working behind the scenes. Dividends reinvest. Interest compounds. The snowball rolls downhill, gathering size. By the time she retires, that pointless habit has blossomed into over $1 million. Not from winning the lottery, not from striking oil, but from patience, persistence, and the quiet magic of compounding. Here's the truth most people never learn. Compounding doesn't reward the smartest or the luckiest. It rewards the most consistent. Every dollar left untouched is a worker you've hired. At first, you may have only a handful, but given time, your workforce multiplies until the money itself does the heavy lifting. The tragedy is that most people never wait long enough to see it happen. Now imagine another path. A young man with the same modest income, the same opportunities. But instead of saving, he spends. New gadgets, dinners out, shiny cars that impress for a moment and fade the next. He tells himself he'll start saving later. After the promotion, after the wedding, after the kids. Time feels endless and compounding. That's a problem for the future. But the future arrives faster than he expects. Years slip by, and one day he finally begins. Except now he's in his 40s, and the clock that once offered decades of growth is ticking loudly. He invests the same monthly amount as the teacher did, but by retirement, his balance is barely a fraction of hers. Not because he earned less, not because he was unlucky, but because he robbed himself of time. That's the cruel truth of compounding. It doesn't just reward patience, it punishes delay. Every year you wait is a year of lost growth. Every dollar you spend on impulse is a worker you fired before it could produce more. The teacher became wealthy not because she had more, but because she started sooner. The man remained ordinary not because he was less intelligent, but because he started too late. Time is the most valuable currency you will ever hold. And once it's gone, no paycheck can buy it back. Think of compounding as a snowball. At the top of the hill, it begins as nothing, a small clump that could fit in your hand. You push, and it barely moves. You strain, and it grows only by an inch. It feels hopeless, even laughable. But keep rolling. Step after step, layer after layer, the snowball gains weight. Soon it begins to move on its own, gathering snow without your effort. And by the time it reaches the bottom, it is no longer a ball. It is an unstoppable avalanche. Money works the same way. A dollar saved today feels invisible, meaningless. But give it time, and that dollar recruits another and another. Left untouched, your small coins become armies. Warren Buffett once said that compounding is the reason he became one of the richest men alive. But here's the part people miss. Almost all his wealth arrived after his 60th birthday. The snowball had been rolling for decades, but once it hit momentum, it exploded. Most people quit before reaching that stage. They stop rolling their snowball halfway down the hill, just before it begins to accelerate. The lesson is simple, yet brutal. The effort feels hardest when the reward looks smallest. But that is the exact moment when compounding is building its hidden power. Patience is the price. Fortune is the reward. Picture two families living on the same street. Both earn similar incomes. Both dream of giving their children a better life. The first family decides to save early. They invest small amounts each month, so small it barely changes their daily life. Vacations are modest, cars are older, but their money quietly works in the background. Over the years, their investments compound, growing far beyond what their salaries alone could ever provide. By the time their children are ready for college, the tuition is already covered. By the time they retire, their savings have blossomed into a fortune. Their sacrifices seem small compared to the freedom they now enjoy. The second family chooses differently. They live for the moment, convinced they will catch up later. Vacations are bigger, cars are newer, dinners out are frequent. On the surface, life looks brighter. But when the bills arrive, when college tuition looms, when retirement sneaks closer, the money isn't there. The difference between these two families isn't intelligence or opportunity. It's time. One family used it, the other wasted it. Compounding doesn't just build wealth, it changes destinies. It decides whether children start life with opportunity or with debt, whether retirement feels like freedom or fear. The quiet choice made decades earlier echoes for generations. Compounding is fragile. It demands patience, but impatience is everywhere. Many people start investing with good intentions, but the moment the market dips, they panic. They pull their money out, locking in losses instead of letting time heal them. Others can't resist the temptation of spending. The account grows, but so does their urge to touch it. A car, a vacation, a new house. The snowball is kicked apart before it reaches momentum. One of the greatest enemies of compounding is greed. People want results now. They chase hot stocks, gamble on quick wins, and forget that the secret is not speed, but consistency. The tortoise, not the hare. History is filled with investors who destroyed decades of progress in a single reckless moment. Some sold in fear during a crash, only to watch the market roar back stronger. Others borrowed heavily to multiply their gains, only to compound their losses instead. Compounding works quietly, invisibly. It doesn't flatter the impatient. It rewards the steady hand, the one who can endure silence, boredom, and doubt. The paradox is cruel. The more you try to accelerate compounding, the more likely you are to break it. True wealth comes not from rushing, but from waiting. Time is the lever. Patience is the fulcrum. Together, they can move mountains. Imagine standing on the floor of the stock exchange during a market crash. Screens are glowing red, phones are ringing nonstop, and traders are shouting with panic in their voices. Some people rush to sell, desperate to escape the falling prices. Their faces are pale, their hands shaking as they sign away stocks at a fraction of yesterday's value. In their minds, it feels like survival. But scattered among the chaos are a few calm faces. Investors who do not flinch. They understand the rules of compounding. They know that today's panic is tomorrow's opportunity. Instead of selling, they hold. Some even buy more. The difference between the two groups isn't knowledge. Both read the same headlines, both feel the same fear. The difference is perspective. One sees disaster, the other sees time at work. Years later, the panicked sellers will look back with regret. Their fear cost them the greatest gift compounding had to offer: recovery. Meanwhile, those who held steady will find their patience rewarded. This is the brutal beauty of compounding. It punishes those who surrender to emotion, and it crowns those who master it. In the end, wealth isn't built in the good times. It's built in the storms, when everyone else is running for the exits. Think of your money as a garden. Each dollar is a seed. Some people scatter their seeds carelessly, never watering them, never giving them sunlight. Others eat their seeds before they have a chance to grow. But the patient gardener plants carefully. He knows the first days bring no reward. The soil looks the same, empty and lifeless. He waters anyway. He waits. Weeks later, small shoots push through the dirt. They are fragile, vulnerable, easy to trample. Many give up at this stage, thinking the growth is too slow. But the wise gardener knows this is only the beginning. Years pass. What was once a patch of dirt is now a thriving orchard. The gardener no longer works for the garden. The garden works for him, producing fruit season after season. This is compounding. At first invisible, later unstoppable. The hardest part is trusting what you cannot yet see. Most people expect instant results, and when they don't come, they quit. They pull their seeds out of the soil just before the roots take hold. But those who stay the course are rewarded with abundance. A tree doesn't grow in a day, but once it does, it provides for generations. Compounding is the orchard of wealth. Time is the rain. Patience is the sunlight. Together, they create harvests beyond imagination. Consider the story of Ronald Read, a janitor and gas station attendant in Vermont. He never earned a high salary, never owned a company, never wore expensive suits. People who passed him on the street would never guess his secret. What was it? Patience. Ronald quietly invested small amounts of money into stocks for decades. He didn't chase trends. He didn't panic during crashes. He simply bought, held, and reinvested. Over time, his modest savings compounded into more than $8 million. When he passed away, the town was stunned. The man they thought was ordinary had become extraordinarily wealthy, not through genius, but through discipline. His story is proof of the silent miracle of compounding. You don't need to be a millionaire to start. You don't need insider knowledge or even a high-paying job. What you need is time, consistency, and trust in the process. Most people ignore this truth because it feels too simple. But Ronald Read's life shows that the ordinary can become extraordinary when patience meets compounding. The greatest financial tool isn't hidden on Wall Street. It's available to everyone. The question is whether we have the discipline to use it. Compounding is not just about money. It is about life itself. Knowledge compounds. Every book you read, every lesson you learn, adds to a reservoir that grows deeper with time. Skills compound. The hours of practice that seem small in the moment create mastery in the future. Even relationships compound. A single act of kindness today can ripple for decades, building trust and opportunity you could never predict. The same principle rules every corner of life. Small, consistent actions, repeated patiently, create extraordinary results. But here is the danger. Negative habits compound too. Debt compounds, ignorance compounds, bad choices compound. Just as a snowball of savings can become a fortune, a snowball of mistakes can become ruin. That is why the most powerful choice you can make is simply to start. To begin rolling your snowball in the right direction. To plant your seeds and protect them with time. You may not see results tomorrow. You may not even see them next year. But given patience, the results will astonish you. The magic of compounding is not reserved for the lucky few. It is for anyone willing to trust time. Pennies become fortunes. Ordinary lives become extraordinary legacies. The question is, will you let time work for you or against you? The decision is yours, and the clock has already started. Here is the truth. You already hold the most powerful investment tool in existence. It is not luck, it is not genius, it is not even money. It is time. Every day you wait, every excuse you make, every "I'll start tomorrow" is a year stolen from your future self. And no paycheck, no promotion, no lottery win can buy that year back. But start today, and you unleash a force greater than almost anything else in finance. A force that turns pennies into fortunes. That transforms ordinary people into millionaires. That builds legacies from the quiet decisions no one else sees. Do not underestimate small beginnings. Do not despise modest amounts. The miracle of compounding does not care about where you start, only that you begin and that you keep going. So ask yourself, will you waste your time or will you let it work for you? The clock is ticking. The snowball is waiting. The orchard is ready to grow. All it needs is you.